guys, welcome back to the Mountain Nights. So today let's talk about sleeping bags. Basically, what are the factors that should be taken into consideration while buying a sleeping bag? Well, as far my understanding goes, sleeping bag should be bought on the following factors. Number one is the altitude, because this is the main aspect that should be taken into consideration. Because as you go higher and higher, that is, as you gain the altitude, the temperature will fall, right? And if you're doing an activity that is not at the high altitude, that is not above 3000 meters of altitude, or in fact, if I be more precise, the altitude that is high altitude generally begins from 2800 to 900 meters of altitude, right? If you're not camping above this particular altitude, then you should not worry too much about the temperature, right? But if you are camping or doing your particular adventure activity at an altitude that is high altitude, right, the temperature becomes a very important factor, right? So you should take into consideration what sleeping bag is capable of providing you warmth at a particular temperature, right? This is all about altitude. Now let's talk about the second factor, that is the kind of activity that you will be doing. According to me, there are basically three kinds of activities that you will be primarily doing in the mountains. Number one is your trekking, second being your mountaineering expedition, and the third one is your alpine climbing. Well, as far as the trekking is concerned, generally you'll be doing either at high altitude, because there are some treks that are high altitude treks, and most of the time you'll be doing trekking at the mid or low altitude. So as far as the mid or low altitude is concerned, you don't need to worry too much about the temperature, right? You can buy a sleeping bag that is of mid-range in terms of price, because a sleeping bag which is of mid-range in terms of price will offer a medium level of warmth, a medium level of durability, and of course not too light and not too heavy at the same time, right? So you can consider this particular these three aspects if you are confining yourself for the rest of your life or the majority of the time to low altitude or mid-level altitude of trekking. When you go towards the trekking at high altitude, definitely the temperature becomes very highly significant. So you must go for the sleeping bag that offers you durability, that offers you warmth, and of course lightweight. But temperature is the prime factor. In case you are not able to afford a sleeping bag that is lightweight, because of course lightweight sleeping bags are generally expensive, so do not compromise with the warmth, but you can definitely compromise a bit with the weight of the sleeping bag, and you can cut down on your budget, or if you're on the budget, you can compromise with the weight. Next comes your mountaineering expedition. Now when you talk about mountaineering expedition, definitely you are going to last in the mountain for a very long time, right? And most of the expedition are definitely going to be at high altitude. Hence, the durability comes into play, the temperature comes into play, and the very important factor, that is your temperature. If you want to buy the best quality of sleeping bag, definitely go for the sleeping bag that is as warm as possible, as light as possible, and as durable as possible, right? But still, if you want to cut down on budget due to any reasons, you should not be compromising on temperature and durability, but you can little bit compromise upon the weight. But let me tell you one thing more, that in expeditions, most of the time you'll be carrying a lot of stuff on your backpack, right, inside your backpack. So if you are able to cut down on weight, so it will be of an advantage to you. So my basic suggestion to you is, ideally buy best quality of sleeping bag that is as warm as possible, as light as possible, and as durable as possible. But if you want to compromise a bit, do not compromise on temperature and durability. But if you are able to handle it, you can little bit compromise on weight. Next comes your very important activity according to me, that is alpine climbing. It is a way of climbing in which there is no umbilical cord between you and base camp. You're completely self-sufficient. You'll be carrying everything yourself, right? You'll be climbing fast, you'll be moving fast, you'll be camping at a very rugged terrains and very low temperatures. In such a situation, you must not compromise with any of the factors, that is warmth, durability, and weight, right? You must go for the best quality of sleeping bag available. So this was all about the basic factors that you must take into consideration before buying a sleeping bag. Now let me tell you one thing more, that sleeping bags come in generally three kind of shapes. Number one being your mummy shape, second one being your semi-rectangular shape, and the third one being your rectangular shape. Now let me share with you my particular sleeping bag, right? Sleeping bag that I have been using since a couple of years. Now it's a very high quality sleeping bag according to me, and it's a very warm, lightweight, and highly durable sleeping bag. The sleeping bag that I'm talking about is the sleeping bag from Millet Expedition 1900, right? Now, looking at the specifications mentioned on the sleeping bag, I can tell you what are the things that you must look for in any sleeping bag. This sleeping bag is capable of providing me comfortable and warm sleep till minus 20 degrees Celsius. And if the temperature reach up to minus 35, still I can sleep with no much trouble inside it, right? So what your sleeping bag that you're about to buy is capable of in terms of its temperature will be mentioned in that particular sleeping bag, or it should be mentioned. This particular sleeping bag, it is 90 by 10 in terms of down as well as feather. Next is the height, the width of this particular sleeping bag, and this is dummy shaped sleeping bag. Now, one important factor that I would like to mention over here as far as my experience goes, that you don't want a sleeping bag that is too tight or too body hugging, right? As far as I am concerned, I need little leg room where I can move my legs a bit while sleeping and fold my legs, because when you fold your legs, they provide you more comfort and relief. Alright guys, that's all as far as what are the major factors to be considered while buying a sleeping bag. As of now, that's all from my side. See you soon.